Unity of Phoenix is a loving spiritual community that welcomes all people and honors all paths to God. We are dedicated to transforming lives by inspiring and awakening individuals to discover God's Spirit within them. All right, anyone here for the very first time? Anyone here for the very first time? Everybody's a hardcore regular? Oh, there you are. How are you? We're so glad you're here with us. Thanks for coming tonight.
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel God's mighty power and God's grace. I can feel the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
So take a deep breath. And I want you to feel the presence and power of God that's within you. Jesus said, seek ye first the kingdom and its righteousness, and all things will be given unto you as well. Today we turn within. And we seek the kingdom of heaven that's within all of us. People have looked for the kingdom in mountaintops and in faraway temples and in sacred shrines. But the temple of God, the kingdom of heaven, is within our own souls. And as we look for it within ourselves, we can give expression to it all around us. So that the God that lives within each one of us can be experienced all around us. So take a deep breath. Relax. And feel the presence of God. And then let it ooze out of you. Let it move into every thought, every feeling. Let the echo of God in you be manifested in every area of your life. That the kingdom of heaven is within. And as we learn to dwell in that secret, holy place within our soul, it vibrates out in all directions. That we become the conduit, the channel for the manifestation of the kingdom of heaven. But we must dwell in that sacred center of our own soul. I dwell in the innermost place of my soul. I dwell in my oneness with God. I dwell in the sacred vibration of my connection with God. So whatever's going on in your life today, whatever the experience, whatever the concern, whatever the ideas, whatever the thoughts, whatever the feelings are, I want you to leave them outside the door of your inner temple. And I want you to go into the innermost place of who you are and sit with God. Be with your God. And drink and eat and have true communion with all that God is in your soul. Dwell. And let your whole soul drink in God. So you can no longer tell where God ends and you begin. So take a moment now in the silence to let the Holy Spirit download the glory of God in you. You've been given the kingdom and all that's in it. You've been given the Spirit of God and all that God is. And it's all within you. There are layers and layers and layers of goodness that are within you waiting to be fully met and expressed and manifested and known. That the God in you is pure God. The divine in you is the pure spirit of the divine. And as you turn your attention within, you begin to download all that God is. So we hold in prayer all the names on our prayer list. We hold in prayer our nation and our world for a greater manifestation of the glory of God. We hold in prayer our ministry and all that this ministry is being called to be in the world. And we hold each other in prayer. That each one of us is living the greatest expression of the divine that we can be. So in the name and through the power of the living Christ, we give thanks. And so it is. Amen.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom has come, thy will is done in earth as it is in heaven. You give us this day our daily bread. You forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. You lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever.
Okay, so last week, who remembers what we talked about last week? You get bonus points. Glowing, we did, thank you. I love it when you remember. I love it when you can stay awake for the whole hour. You know, it really just touches my heart, right? So last week we talked about glowing. And your homework for last week was to look at the things in your life that cause you to glow. Because my whole premise is that as spiritual beings, we are light. We are light beings. We're energy beings, right? And that my request of you was to turn your light on, to turn your glow on, to recapture how bright your soul was meant to be. And what I love about what's happening on Wednesday night is there's this cool conversation that's starting on Facebook. And you can friend me on Facebook. You can like the Wednesday Soul Celebration, because there's this cool conversation that's going on. And one of the conversations that would happen was people have been sharing with me both the miracles that we've been working on Sunday morning, but last week people started sharing with me what they did to turn their glow on. Elizabeth, you want to stand up? Come on, stand up. We're going to embarrass you anyway, because I'm going to shoot your picture up on the whole big thing. All right. So let's get Elizabeth up here. And Elizabeth shared with us. This is from Rocky Point. True? It's from Rocky Point, and it said, "Great message in glowing last Wednesday, Richard Rogers. What supports me in glowing is spending time with friends and family, being at the beach, and laughing." Right? Now, so how many of you did your homework? 4 of you. Thank you. Right? So the idea was, I wanted you to know the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5 things that really help you get your glow on, that help you get your light fully bright, turned on, excited about life, because that's who you came to be in the world. True? That you came to be the radiant expression of God that you are. You came to be as big and bright and bold and wonderful, and I want you to turn your light on. And I want you to practice over and over again turning your light on, and turn it on in bigger ways than you normally do. Like normally how you kind of fine-tune it, kind of turn it down. The whole challenge last week was, how bright can you be? Now, the thing that I want to talk about today is defining the dream that brought you here. That's DEF, right? Sometimes nobody can read my writing. So here's what I want us to look at tonight. I want you to define the dream that called your soul to show up in earthly form. Okay? Because your soul had a dream that enticed you to come into form. We all do. We all have that thing that we want to experience. Now, how many of you have heard that the purpose of life is to grow spiritually? How many want to vote for that one? Right? I don't believe that's true. Right? I absolutely do not believe that we come to grow spiritually. Because that's like saying that God created you with a semi-complete soul, right? And that sent you into the world to finish the job. Right? It doesn't make sense to me. I believe that every soul is 100% fully grown, fully matured, fully developed, fully capable, Christ-like soul from the moment you come out. Now, I do believe that your fully developed, mature, fully awake soul comes in to have experiences, but not to grow. I know people think this is a big cosmic classroom and we're all growing, I can't understand that, right? Because I absolutely believe that you were fully, completely baked the moment you came out. Like, even though we kind of look half-baked, we are completely baked the moment we come out. That your soul was completely baked. So if that premise is true, that you're a fully mature, fully awake, fully conscious spiritual being having experiences, then the question becomes, let's define the experience that your soul came for. Let's clearly define it. So what was the dream that was so interesting, so captivating, so inspiring, that you were willing to take on human form and have all these human experiences because there's something that your soul wanted? What was that? You say, well, I don't know what it was, but I think you do. And I would be interested in you spending some time actually defining the dream that called you into life. Was it to know love? Was it to maybe to know God in three-dimensional form? Was it to be with your art? Was it to create? Was it to know great love? Was it to make a ton of money? Maybe, right? What was it that your soul, what was the dream that called you out of the infinite and called you into three-dimensional form? Would you be interested in actually knowing what that is? See, a lot of people talk about life purpose, right? And somewhat, this is somewhat about your purpose. But I want you to actually see that it's much bigger. Because usually when we talk about purpose, the purpose is the idea, what am I supposed to give to somebody else, right? And what happens when you look at purpose, it kind of gets kind of narrow. And sometimes it kind of gets kind of flat. And I want you to really expand this idea that there's a dream that your soul came to fulfill. I want you to know what it is. I want you even to be more interested by at least being in the question of knowing what it is. Because when we know what was so interesting to us, it makes being here so much more rewarding. Jesus said, in the world there's tribulation, but be of good cheer, for I've overcome the world. How many of you have ever experienced a problem in three-dimensional form? How many of your souls thought it was actually going to be easier than it turned out to be? Right? Anybody? Right? So it's helpful, right? If three-dimensional form is a little bit more dense and awkward and hard than we thought it should be, it's helpful to have a dream or the understanding of what called us here so that we're actually aware of why we're here. Now, so that's the first thing, right? First thing I want is you to define the dream of your life. Now, sometimes in life we have desires, right? Can you think of some desires, right? Now, the reason that I want us to talk about desires is because sometimes desires play a role in our dreams. But what's interesting about desires is they may or may not be moving us toward our dream. On TV lately, on the cable TV lately, there's been a lot of shows about cars and fixing up cars. Have you seen any of those? And if you don't, I mean, now there's a whole channel, and I love it. I do. I spend way too many hours watching it, about restoring old cars. And last night on TV, there was this 32 Ford convertible, and with 1,000 horsepower. Now half the room is not going to care. Maybe 90% of the room is not going to care. It was 1,000 horsepower engine in this 32 Deuce Coupe. It was the most amazing little hot rod ever. Now, there was a part of me, I got to tell you, that awoke a level of desire in me. Right? Does that make sense? Now, but what I want you to see, that you can have many desires that may or may not move your life forward. True? Right? That only the desires that really move your life forward are the desires that you have an intention about. Okay? So you can have a desire without an intention. Right? You can have a desire. Wow, that 32 Roadster looks great. Right? But there's not a place in you where your soul says, but I want it. Or I intend to create it. Or I intend to allow my life to have it. Now, what I want you to see, and I'm going to make sense of this in one point. What I want you to see is that for many of us, the thing that keeps us from, the thing that we have a desire, but it doesn't become an intention, guess what the thing is that kind of separates those two? Anybody want to guess? I'm going to suggest it's belief. That for many of us, the thing that we can have a desire for something, but we never really call it into our lives because we don't believe it's possible. See, for everything to become an intention in your life, there has to be a belief. And the belief has to be of one or two things. You either have to believe that you can do it, or you have to believe that God can do it. Or better yet, that the two of you can do it together. So your soul naturally comes into form and has desires. And those desires are very much a way for you to acknowledge what your soul aligns with, connects to, has sympathy with, has a vibrational connection with. What I want you to see is that when your soul comes in, it actually begins to resonate with things, right? But not all things that you resonate with do you actually go and bring into your life experience. Some things you can just notice as they go by, and you think, oh, that would be nice, or that's interesting, or that's fun, or whatever, but you don't actually bring it into your life experience. It doesn't actually become a part of your life, your soul's expression. What tends to become part of your soul's life expression are those things that you believe is possible. Now, why is that important? How many of you have ever heard of the concept, the kingdom of heaven? Right? Like the kingdom of heaven, right? So the kingdom of heaven is kind of an etherical understanding that there's this experience of God when human beings can have this experience of God. There's also this belief that if we experience the kingdom of heaven internally, that it might make some outward expression changes. It might show up in a world different than the world that we have now. How many of you believe that we could actually create, this is interesting for me, and you don't have to vote if you don't want to. How many of you believe that we could actually create a different, or maybe even a better world than we're currently experiencing? All right, me too, right? So I firmly believe that, right? And I believe that is part of us. Our own spiritual development is learning how to create consciously and co-create consciously with others. That as we really learn how to co-create consciously with others, then poverty and hunger and those kind of things, they don't really make sense if you believe that we live in an infinite universe, right? If you only believe that there's enough for you and your family or you and your people or you and your neighborhood, then starvation makes sense. But if you believe that we live in an infinite universe, then starvation doesn't really make sense, because if you say that there's enough to go around, then why wouldn't we practice that, right? So did I go too far? Are you still with me, right? So here's where I am tonight. There is someplace I am, right? Here's where I am tonight. I want you to open a door to a possibility that maybe your soul's been flirting with, but you haven't really believed is possible. And I'm going to ask you to actually set an intention for the dream that your soul came for, even if it seems radically greater than you've known in the past. Like, there is this idea, right, of nano energy, of literally free energy, right? This is concept. It's available in science, where we could actually create a level of energy that would make the way we create energy now obsolete. Where energy would literally be virtually no cost to it, right? And so right now, the things that we do for energy, I mean, we do some crazy stuff for energy, right? So we pollute the water, and we do some crazy things for energy because we believe that energy is so important that we're willing to do some crazy things for more and more energy, right? But what if energy was free? And what if it didn't pollute? What if there was a possibility of a life that is exponentially better? Would you be willing to entertain the possibility that something that good could happen? See, the problem is, until we actually begin to believe in a possibility, we don't take the steps necessary to actually create a life that's that good, that there's that much love, that much joy, that much peace, even that much energy available, right? So what if we've been lulled into a belief that only this much is possible? And yet, Jesus taught the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Like it's here. And as we all experience it within ourselves, then it manifests all around us. So what's the greatest amount of good? What is the dream that your soul came to experience? Would you be willing to entertain the possibility of that, even if it seems crazy? Okay, can I take one more step? Right? Okay, so how do we do that? So imagine this is where you are today. This is your little happy self, right? Now, in spirit, really, there's no distance, right? In energy, there's no distance, right? That all distance, well, that's a whole nother, all right? But imagine this is your dream, right? Because from a human experience, it feels like our dream is not here, it's there, right? It feels like it's way off, or at least out there somewhere, right? So it looks like there's this path that we have to take to visualizing or experiencing our dream. True? Are you still with me? Now, the question is, how do we move from where we are to right here, to fulfilling our dream, to fulfilling what our soul came for? And the two major things that we have on our favor is our mind and our emotions. True? Now, the work of our mind is to actually imagine it. that the more we spend time imagining the greatest life that the greatest life, the more time we spend imagining it, the more that empowers, that's the right use of our mind. It's the more that we spend time imagining it, the more that dream becomes a reality. True? Are you willing to give me that much? Now, what's the work of our emotions? The work of our emotions is that we're actually supposed to entertain the emotion that we would have if this dream was real. And when we link those two things together, when we can see it and feel it, we're actually calling that experience into our soul. We're actually opening our soul big enough to allow for that dream. And over again, the more that we can see it with our mind's eye and feel it with our heart of hearts, we're actually creating it. And that, over and over again, that is the purpose of our mind and our emotions, to see it and feel it. So what would it look like if you were living the greatest dream that you could imagine? But not only what would it look like, because that's just your mind's level, what would it feel like? If every day you were living your soul's greatest dream, what would it feel like? And over again, that's where we live, right? That's the thing that empowers this to become our reality, to move it from a dream to our reality. Now, that's the positive, right? That's how it works. What's the negative side of this? How do we use our mind incorrectly? Well, every time we say to ourselves, this isn't ever going to work, right? Incorrect use of mind, right? Because now we're using our thoughts to actually block our soul's progress. Or the one that I really want to talk about, to focus on, is it shouldn't look like this. Have you ever had an experience where you told yourself, this should not be happening to me? Oh yeah, this is not what I signed up for, right? So what I want you to see is that thought that this shouldn't be happening to me, or this isn't right, or this is wrong, actually gets in the way of us moving forward, because at that moment we're actually blocking the universe from manifesting, because in reality you don't know how to go from where you are today to your highest intention. You don't know how to get there, but all you know how to do is hold a vision of that and feel that and trust that whatever happens next is absolutely part of your journey to the good that you've claimed already spiritually. But every time, because your mind can think about things and say, well, if I was in charge of the universe, I wouldn't have created it this way. I would have created, the doors would just open and I would be queen for a day, right? So the most difficult part we have in this is that your mind thinks it knows the best way to get you from point A to point B. And it doesn't. Will you say with me? This is exactly what I'm supposed to be going through right now. Together? This is exactly what I'm supposed to be going through right now. One more time. This is exactly what I'm supposed to be going through right now. Because if I have a vision of where I want to go, and this is my current experience, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be to get me from here to there. This is exactly what I'm supposed to be going through. Now, your mind goes, but I can think of something much better than this. Really, I can think of more money, I can think of more love, I can think of more joy. I can think of a million things that would be better than my current experience. And what I want you to see is that every time you use your mind that way, it actually disengages you from the path that God's created for you. You actually get off the path at that moment, because your mind then no longer trusts that God's in charge. And what I want you to see over and over and over again, I want you to have a wild, wonderful dream, a vision of what life could be like here on earth. For you, for your family, for our nation, for the whole world, for every man, woman, and child. I want you to have an amazing vision for what could be. And I want you to feel what that would feel like. And then every time your mind says, but this isn't it, I want you to say, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be going through. Now, that's how you use your mind incorrectly. How do you use your feelings incorrectly? Anybody want to take a stab at that one? Feeling you don't deserve it, right? Or any feeling other than expectancy. Because if you knew that your great life was one moment away, you would feel overwhelming expectancy. You would be like a kid on Christmas morning. You would be so excited that your good life was coming. So your mind has to play, but your emotions have to play. And the more that we believe, the more our mind and our feelings align with the highest level of good. So tonight, what's the greatest level of good that you can imagine? What did your soul come for? What is the dream that called you to manifest into three-dimensional form? I want you to see it, and I want you to feel what it would feel like to live that fully. And anytime your mind says, this ain't it, I want you just to say, peace be still. This is exactly where we're supposed to be. And this is exactly how we get to where we want to go. Will you pray with me? I invite you to open your mind, your heart, your soul to the activity of God. To feel God right here, right now. That whatever your dream, whatever your desire, whatever is the thing that called your soul into manifestation, that was so important to you that you would leave the form that you knew and come into three-dimensional form. I want you to see that it's right here and it's right now. And it's all a part of the kingdom of heaven. And it's all a part of God's plan for your life. And there really is that much good in the world for you. I want you to hold your mind to a higher possibility. And then I want you to allow your emotions to feel the feeling of complete success and total soul satisfaction. So in the name and through the power of the living Christ, we give thanks. And so it is. Amen. God bless you all. Thanks for being here
coming
tonight.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Together our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. God bless you all. Thanks for being here tonight. Have a great night.